can use it to travel back into time and set a trap for those super criminals.
Saturday mornings once meant gathering around the TV for colorful, campy heroics and super friends. Behind the cheerful teamwork and sound effects, there's a trove of bizarre production secrets and unlikely choices. Let's dig into 15 surprising facts that made this animated classic so unique. Number 1. Bizarre anti-drug episodes. Let's go back to the Saturday mornings of the early 1980s, when caped heroes ruled the living room and cereal crumbs littered the carpet. Suddenly, Super Friends, your weekly dose of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, took a detour from fighting Lex Luthor and saving Metropolis. Out of nowhere, the notorious villain Darkseid emerged, not with a doomsday device, but with a plea to kids: stay away from drugs. These anti-drug PSAs were strange, even by cartoon standards. Instead of laser battles and quippy one-liners, there were somber warnings and bizarre one-off villains like the evil Dr. Smokes. It's as if your favorite superhero team landed in the middle of an after-school special. The tone was earnest but awkward, morphing what was once action-packed fun into a lesson-filled intermission. For fans tuning in between 1973 and 1985 on ABC, these episodes became a pop culture oddity, a reminder that even the world's mightiest heroes sometimes traded their capes for cautionary tales. For a generation, that blend of superpowers and PSAs lingers in memory, proof that even Darkseid could sign on as a Saturday morning role model. Now, let's see what other surprises these classic shows held in store. Number 2. International syndication edits. Across continents, Saturday morning felt different depending on where you watched Super Friends in the 1970s and 80s. Overseas networks didn't just dub voices, but completely transformed the show's identity. Episodes might show up out of order, stories abruptly starting in the middle, or ending with cliffhangers never resolved. In places like France and Spain, the heroic anthem was swapped out for jaunty local tunes that only made sense to kids from that region. Scenes were sliced for time or just lost in translation, leaving behind gaps where American viewers remembered wild team-ups or outlandish gadgets. By 1973, Hanna-Barbera's iconic cartoon had become a worldwide export, but consistency was a casualty. Entire chunks could vanish, confusing young fans. Today, those odd regional edits, with their unique theme songs and jumbled titles, are treasured by collectors looking for a piece of TV history unavailable anywhere else. The mismatched soundtracks and missing Super Friends moments echo a time when television felt local, no matter how global the superheroes were meant to be. Number 3. Crossover with Scooby-Doo. A sharp-eared laugh track, a swirl of animated capes, and then there it was. In 1979, at a time when Saturday mornings meant leaning in close to the boxy television, Super Friends fans blinked and nearly missed an unbelievable mashup. For a quick, jokey interstitial, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the Justice League suddenly shared the screen with Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and the whole Mystery Inc.'s crew. It was an inside joke hidden in a Hanna-Barbera bumper, broadcast between regular episodes. Before Marvel movies and crossover TV events became a formula, this little moment showed what it felt like to watch worlds collide, long before anyone called it a shared universe. There was Batman, probably trying not to roll his eyes at Scooby's antics, all set to Hanna-Barbera's cheerful animation style. Kids who caught it were left buzzing on playgrounds Monday morning, certain they'd seen something amazing. For a flash, DC's finest weren't just saving the world, they were laughing right along with a talking Great Dane. The boundary between shows? Gone, if only for that heartbeat. Number 4. Flash's creative absence. Picture Saturday mornings in the mid-1970s, the theme song of Super Friends ringing out from living rooms all across America. While Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman always took center stage, sharp-eyed fans noticed something strange. The Flash, one of the Justice League's biggest stars, was nowhere to be found in most episodes. The reason went far beyond creative choices. Tangled licensing issues kept the Scarlet Speedster sidelined from 1973 through much of the show's original run. It wasn't until later seasons, after a maze of legal red tape finally cleared, that the Flash could join his friends, thrilling kids desperate for their favorite speedster to dash into action. When he eventually arrived, it felt like a superhero reunion long overdue. His lightning-fast moves brought fresh energy just as the show shifted into its final years. giving die-hard fans a jolt of excitement with every blur across the screen. The wait made his arrival feel all the sweeter, proof that sometimes the best heroes really are worth holding out for. Number 5. Adam West's missed opportunity. Picture this: the booming chords of the Super Friends theme, Saturday breakfast on the carpet, and all your favorite heroes assembled on screen. But there's a twist hidden in the soundscape. Adam West, the very face and voice of Batman for much of the 1960s, was offered the chance to return as the caped crusader for Super Friends in 1973. Busy schedules got in the way, and West passed on voicing his legendary character. Instead, Olin Soul stepped into Batman's shoes, lending his calm, methodical voice for the show's early run. For fans who grew up on West's campy charm, it marked a curious shift. What if Adam West had accepted? Would the entire tone of those animated adventures have changed? These are the what-ifs that keep superhero historians talking. Sometimes the greatest stories are the ones that nearly happened but slipped just out of reach, leaving you with a different but still unforgettable childhood soundtrack as the adventures soared on. Let's pause day for a second. Did you ever imagine your favorite character sounding different? Which Saturday morning cartoon voice made the biggest impact on you growing up? Share your wildest what-if casting dreams below. Number 6. The Forgotten Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog. The earliest days of Super Friends brought a trio almost lost in cartoon history: Wendy, Marvin, and their floppy-eared Wonder Dog. When the show debuted in 1973 on ABC, these three were meant to be audience surrogates, tagging along with heroes like Superman and Batman. But the truth? Fans were never quite sure what to make of them. Wendy and Marvin had no powers, just plucky optimism and awkward detective skills. Even Wonder Dog was more comic relief than crime fighter. Within 2 seasons, producers could feel the chill. Ratings lagged and letters piled up. By 1977, the trio quietly vanished, replaced by the flashier Wonder Twins, Zan and Jaina. No tearful farewell, no wild rescue. They just disappeared, as if erased by the Hall of Justice itself. It was a gentle rewrite that signaled a new era. Sidekicks needed powers, capes, and catchphrases to compete. The soft thud of Wonder Dog's paws would fade, but the need for heroes, super or otherwise, never would. And so, Super Friends pressed forward, chasing a new kind of Saturday morning magic. Number 7. Wonder Woman's invisible jet optics. If you ever squinted at Saturday mornings in the 70s, you probably recall a bizarre sight: Wonder Woman's famous invisible jet gliding across the cartoon sky. Not really invisible, but looking like a ghostly outline someone forgot to erase. On Super Friends, which first aired in 1973 on ABC, animators used a simple trick. Budgets were tight, so instead of lab-grown Hollywood magic, they traced a white, shadowy shape where the jet should have been. That ethereal tracing, just translucent enough to prove there was something there, became an accidental icon. Ask any kid from the era and they'll remember that floating outline more than the jet itself. What started as a cost-cutting workaround turned into something unexpectedly memorable, sparking memes and tributes decades later. Even now, when someone jokes about invisible vehicles, the image of that clunky white jet often comes first. The soundless, odd beauty of it floats onward, a reminder that sometimes nostalgia clings to imperfections as much as perfection. Hang tight, because up next, the legends get even weirder. Number 8. Zan and Jaina's form limits. A crackle of blue energy, Zan's finger sliding into Jaina's palm, and suddenly you're in for the goofiest magic trick on morning TV. On Super Friends, which launched in 1973 on ABC, the Wonder Twins couldn't activate their powers without holding hands. Literally. It sounds silly, but there was a reason behind this odd rule. Censors and producers worried that kids everywhere would try to replicate superhero stunts. By insisting on this strange gesture, they turned intergalactic might into a careful dance of touch. Writers didn't fight it. Instead, they doubled down, making their transformations memorably absurd. Jaina could morph into animals, but Zan always had to settle for water forms, waves, fog, or the infamous bucket of ice. Some claim his transformation into form of a tidal wave was the weirdest, while others swear nothing tops form of an ice unicycle. Their hand-clasped choreography became a running joke and a core bond. Even now, super fans debate which form pushes the boundary of bizarre the furthest. Somewhere, a purple monkey named Gleek is rolling his eyes and waiting for what comes next. Number 9. the laughably slow threats. The Saturday morning air was electric, but Super Friends often felt like it was set underwater. In 1973, the show assembled icons like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, promising pulse-pounding adventure on ABC. Instead, villains seemed to move at a glacial pace, and escapes unfolded in eye-rolling slow motion. This wasn't just hokey animation, it was the censors at work. Broadcast standards strictly outlawed anything resembling real violence or excessive peril. Producers got crafty, stretching short scuffles into endless ballet-like battles. Sound effects stayed gentle, never more than a comic book whoomp. Young fans quickly noticed. Week after week, kids felt the tension dissolve as Lex Luthor's traps inched forward, giving ample time for our heroes to narrate their next move. Still, Super Friends found a loyal audience, running through 12 seasons and morphing into various incarnations. For all the groans, these molasses-paced adventures are a snapshot of what heroism looked like when America needed comfort more than chaos. Tomorrow's action cartoons would shatter the mold, but for now, we're still hearing those gentle cartoon footfalls in our minds as the Hall of Justice doors swing open yet again. Number 10. Batmobile's disappearing doors. Think back to Saturday mornings in the 1970s, a bowl of sugary cereal in your lap, when Super Friends ruled the TV. If you ever noticed Batman and Robin diving right through the Batmobile's sides, you weren't imagining things. The animators behind Super Friends, which debuted on ABC in 1973, had a secret shortcut. They often left out the doors on the Batmobile entirely, sliding across vinyl seats. Forget it. Batman and Robin just leaped into action, skipping the entire process of opening a door. It was more than just a stylistic choice, too. By removing doors, the animation team kept costs low and kept storylines moving at a breakneck pace, all without fiddling over tiny car details. Sharp-eyed fans began to notice, turning the missing doors into a beloved inside joke among cartoon aficionados. This oddity became a testament to the creative tricks animators used to bring superheroes to life, especially when deadlines were tight. And just like the bat signal itself, it hinted at more comic quirks waiting in the next episode. Number 11. Super Friends. Saturday mornings in 1977 got an unexpected shakeup. As Super Friends soared in popularity on ABC, Hanna-Barbera aimed to give their beloved superhero team a broader appeal. Enter Black Vulcan, Samurai, Apache Chief, and El Dorado, 4 new heroes who didn't step out of DC Comics, but were born straight from the animators' imaginations. Each came with their own unique powers and backgrounds. Black Vulcan with thunderbolts, Samurai cloaked in wind, Apache Chief growing tall as a redwood, and El Dorado melding mysticism with Latin pride. But for all their novelty, these characters leaned heavily on stereotypes, reflecting the awkward evolution of diversity in late 70s pop culture. Their inclusion sparked questions even then. Why weren't authentic comic book heroes with diverse backgrounds brought in instead? Decades later, these trailblazers remain symbols of both progress and missteps, fueling vibrant debates among fans and comic historians alike. Fade out as plastic Super Friends lunchboxes clatter in a school hallway, and the memory of Saturday cartoons lingers, taking us toward the next twist in superhero television. Number 12. Superman's weakened powers mandate. Here's something sharp-eyed fans picked up on fast. In the original Super Friends cartoon, Superman was anything but unstoppable. When the series launched in 1973 on ABC, network censors clamped down hard. They issued strict rules: no punches thrown, no rough brawling, and definitely no signature super strength smackdowns. Suddenly, the Man of Steel's fists were as good as tied. Instead of powering through walls or tossing villains into orbit, Superman solved predicaments with brain power and non-violent maneuvers. He rescued people with quick thinking, disarmed threats with gadgets, or at times talked baddies into giving up. Kids tuned in expecting slam-bang action got instead a hero who often saved the day with ideas, not brute force. To comic book purists, the awkward sidesteps were obvious, with fights replaced by lectures or clever traps. Still, these creative workarounds helped make Super Friends a Saturday morning staple for over a decade. The odd quietness of Superman's powers lingers as a gentle reminder. Sometimes limitations breed a whole new style of hero. Next, things only get stranger. Number 13. The Hall of Justice's real-world inspiration. Sunlight catching on sweeping glass, white columns rising, and that iconic domed silhouette silhouette. Every kid glued to Saturday morning cartoons knew the Hall of Justice was something special. But few realized this animated fortress took direct inspiration from the Cincinnati Union Terminal, a real train station famed for its gleaming Art Deco curves. Animators for Super Friends in 1973 studied photos of that Ohio landmark, recreating its grand facade right down to the arched entrance and radiant glass. Suddenly, an ordinary, busy terminal became the blueprint for superhero legend. Many kids dreamed about stepping through those shining doors, picturing Batman and Superman stationed inside. The hall's monumental design didn't just give the show its sense of gravitas, it elevated cartoon heroics to the scale of myth. All the while, fans across America were unwittingly fantasizing about a building they could actually visit, if they only knew how to spot it in the real world. Sometimes a cartoon daydream is hiding in plain sight, just one train ticket away from reality. Number 14. Lex Luthor's color change turmoil. There's something oddly jarring about recognizing your favorite villain, only for his colors to shift mid-series. On Super Friends in 1973, Lex Luthor first floated onto screens not in his signature purple and green, but wearing a blue suit, topped with a shocking shock of red hair. To longtime DC fans, he looked nothing like the bald, brash genius who had plagued Superman for decades. Viewers tuned in year after year. By the time Challenge of the Super Friends arrived in 1978, producers finally updated Luthor's look. Out went the blue and red locks. In came the now famous purple and green ensemble that matched his comic roots. But debates rage on. Older fans swear the old Luthor had extra menace, while newcomers only know him by his later palette. It's a small detail, but on Saturday mornings, every color and curl seem to matter. In the world of cartoon villains, even wardrobe can spark lifelong debate. Number 15. Aquaman's SpongeBob crossover connection. Picture Aquaman, regal in orange and green, sending out whale calls and dolphin commands across Saturday mornings. On Super Friends, which debuted in 1973, his quirky ability to talk to fish was both punchline and superpower. Yet what most folks don't realize is just how deep his legacy goes. Behind-the-scenes artists, storyboard writers, even some of the comedic minds that brought you Super Friends' lighter moments would later join the crew at Nickelodeon. Their influence swam right into the sponge-shaped heart of SpongeBob SquarePants. Aquaman's absurd underwater chats and the series' knack for fishy slapstick laid a blueprint, one that bubbled up decades later in Bikini Bottom's barnacle-filled antics. The familiar rhythms, the jokes about jellyfish and eccentric sea critters all carry echoes of Saturday morning's brightest sea king. Sit with that for a second. Without Aquaman's signature shtick, your favorite pineapple under the sea might have felt just a little less weird, a little less wonderful. Next up, we dive even deeper into the hidden ripples of animated history.